Wanna go deep, deep ministry. I wanna go deep in the ministry. I gotta go deep in my ministries. I gotta go deep in my ministry. I wanna go deep, deep ministry. I wanna go deep in the ministry. I gotta go deep in my ministries. I gotta go deep in my ministry. I wanna go deep, deep ministry. I wanna go deep in the ministry. I gotta go deep in my ministries. I gotta go deep in my ministry. I wanna go deep, deep ministry. I wanna go deep in the ministry. I gotta go deep in my ministries. I gotta go deep in my ministry. I wanna go deep, deep ministry. I wanna go deep in the ministry. I gotta go deep in my ministries. I gotta go deep in my ministries.
Welcome, everybody, to Deep Ministries. I wanted to start at 1 p.m., but as usual, technical difficulties. This is a new channel. We're still learning the ins and outs of this information age of technology. But we'll get it right one day. We'll get it. Yeah, we're going to go back into our reading of the Christ letters. Where this is part 5. And I'm not going to go into a lot of introduction because if you've been following, you know what these letters are about. These are the Christ letters channeled by the recorder. And as I always mentioned every week, this is individually I listened to them, and I think they're appropriate to take on, to read on my channel and to bring forward so others can hear them and do the research for yourself and see if they bring out something in you. This is Christ's return to speak his truth. And we're just gonna go, this is part 5, and we're just gonna go into another reading of these letters. And thank you all. Thank you all who has been listening and to these letters. I get a lot of likes. I would love to hear your comments, please. I want to see if these letters resonates with you. Is there something you heard in this reading? And remember, these letters are available. You could listen to them on YouTube, and you could get the PDF original version of these letters. They're all over the internet. So you can take your time and listen to them. And you have to listen to them more than more than one time. These are deep, deep letters. And to get the understanding, you have to watch them. You have to watch or listen or read more than one time. All right, without no further ado, we're going to go into this week's episode, this week's reading. And we're going to start this week. I started this last week about the nature of the creative power. There's some laws that are universal. These are universal laws. They're unchangeable. Every creation has to go by these fundamental laws. And we're going to go over them. I started these on my last episode, I think. So I want to continue these creatives. Let me see what he termed them as. Let's see what these letters are. What do you call them? These principles. The principles and characteristics clearly observed in process of creation. And these are what they call them invariable laws governing all existence. There are invariable laws governing all existence. And I know it came in my spirit that if any of these laws aren't being followed, that's when we get divine intervention. So all creation, there's a universal law that all creation, whether good or bad, not just human beings, plants, animals. That's why you see the grass grow all the time. As God's creation, we have to grow. We have to grow all the time. And the grass grows, and you'll weed it out, and then it comes back all the time. It's just doing what it was created to do. And just as we as human beings, we're in a time where we might look like we're growing in the aspect of physical and probably wealth. Some of us are, but the spiritual aspect of us is not growing. And that's why we're in this time where they call it the end of the world. You know, is it the end of the world? Because he also he says the earth will never cease from being. So the end of this type of stunt growth, what's causing us from not spiritually growing, and as a law of the universe, we should be growing and we're not. So I'm going to go into the different laws. I don't know how far I'll get, but I'll read these letters, read to see how far I can get in these letters. So I'm going to start here, and it says, I saw that these principles and characteristics clearly observable in the process of creation were set invariable laws concerning all of existence. These laws are so much part of life that they are never questioned. They are undeviating and consistent But there would be no such laws if there were no creative, intelligent power manifesting itself through the universe. These principles of creation, the characteristics of the creative power itself, are as follows. So these are principles of creation, the characteristics of the creative power. And he says, I am translating them into your present tense because these principles are eternal. Eternal. These are the things we take for growth. These are aspects of the laws of the universe that governs every creation, and they are eternal. The first one is the nature of the creative power is growth. I just mentioned this. Everything living always grow. Everything living always grow, and that includes us. In spite of our difficulty, and whatever we go, we just have this innate ability to get up and keep starting again, get up and start again. As I just mentioned, that even the grass will always have to keep growing. And I never knew that this was part of the creative power, growth. And it says the nature of the creative power. And remember what the creative power is? It's the creative, intelligent power manifesting itself through the universe. Grow, grow, grow. We always have to grow. The nature of the creative power is nutrition and nourishment. Nutrition and nourishment are a normal and marvelously organized process within bodies, which is evident to all who take the trouble to consider them. So we didn't know that nutrition and nourishment is it's a divine law. Nutrition is provided for all living things according to individual preferences, and the food is digested to promote health and well-being. When little creatures are born, milk is ready supplied within the mother, ready and waiting for the newborn. This too is mystifying principle of existence none can deny. And when it talks about food and nutrition, it's not talking about external. It's talking about internal. We are created with an innate ability to get nutrition as we were born. And that's the law of the universe. So now we have, especially breastfeeding, women have the choice whether to use this creative power from the divine or use the formula that's man-made, but to each his choice. But this comes because as the baby's born, I always wonder when the baby's born, they just have that natural ability to know that they're where their mother's bosom is. It's like it comes with them when they were born to find something to eat, and you don't have to teach them how to suck you. It's just natural. These things we take some time and imagine and just look at God's creation. This is part of God's creation something that comes with God's creation. No science can explain why such a fortuitous function within the system ensuring survival of the species should have originally come into being. The actual function itself may be understood, but not the actual function itself may be understood, but not the why and the and the mainspring of the function. So we see now we see why it happens, because nutrition and nourishment is a divine law. It was created, it's eternal. That's part of the law of the universe. It was created for us, that when we were created, we're automatically created with nutrition and nourishment. Let me read this again. The actual function itself may be understood, but not why, and the mainspring of the function. Number 3, the nature of the creative power is healing. This is another one where this is a law of the universe. We're created with healing. Healing is a natural characteristics of existence and can be said to be natural perfecting process which take place to ensure individual comfort, but none can explain what prompts the activity of healing. None can. So we know that healing comes with us. It's the natural natural characteristics of our creation by our maker. That is, you call it that divine intelligent mind. It seems as if when someone was planning to create us, these were the things that was considered. Our first is our growth. We have to that's universal law. And anyone that try to hinder these things, that's what we call karma. Hinder your growth, hinder your healing, hinder your nutrition. These are nature's gift to man. Okay, verse 4, I'm in that first. Number 4 is the nature of the creative power is protection. Protection. These are innate. Other men, this world doesn't have to give these stuff I'm reading. The world doesn't have to give to us. We come with them naturally when we came on this earth. Protection is an integral characteristics of the creative power, and all of its seeming miraculous activity in the world is geared towards protection. Today, your medical textbooks describe the various protective systems in your body, but when I was in the desert, I saw the characteristics of protection inherent in the intelligent creative power in the following way. And this is Christ speaking. He says, when I was in the desert, we saw the natural creative power, characteristics of the natural creative power in the following way. And just to recap, we talk about the creative power is, we talk about in the desert here, it's if you read the Bible, it says when Christ is just describing, he's still describing his time in the wilderness in the Bible, and he calls it here the desert. These are his experiences. He's sharing us what he saw in the desert. And remember, these are Christ's letters, and we're just reading them. We're not adding anything. Again, it says, when I was in the desert, I saw the characteristics of protection inherent in the intelligent creative power in the following way. As plants, birds, and animals were presented to me for inspired observation, I could see how every need of protection in bodies has been lovingly supplied with the greatest attention to detail. Plants, birds, and animals were presented to me for inspired observation. I could see how every need of protection in bodies has been lovingly supplied with the greatest attention to detail. The characteristics of protection is combined with the other dynamic characteristics of fulfillment of need. This was made clearly apparent in the provision of ear, fur, and feathers to protect the skin of living creatures and to provide warmth in the cold and shelter in the heat. So we see, yeah, the textbook tells us that's what our skin, that's what the fur is for. Provide protection, protect the skin, creatures, and provide warmth in the cold and shelter in the heat. I saw the tender endings of important and sensitive fingers and toes were all provided. Oh, let's read this again. I saw that the tender endings of important and sensitive fingers and toes were all provided with appropriate protection of hoof and nails. We'll understand that our nails is a big protection. These are the things we just go through the world and take for granted. Eyebrows protected eyes from sweat. Eyelids and lashes protected eyes from the dust and the damage. I realized that those animals which attracted flies were equipped with a kind of tails which would most speedily get rid of them. See? These stuff we were born with. If we want to know how, how the thought that was put into our creation, we weren't just sent here. We weren't just sent here just to come here. We sent here with food and nutrition. We sent here with protection. And our eyelids, our eyebrows, and our eyelashes, these are protection. Our nails. What a happy, joyous kind of love and caring were expressed in these small physical attributes, which seemed so small and inconsequential, and yet had such a profound bearing on the comfort of all living things. These physical luxury added to the basic physical design were clearly the product of an intelligence which intended creation to be comfortable and happy, free of stress, which could have been experienced by man and beast which would have been experienced by man and beast if these luxury items had not been given them. Luxury items. We don't even see these as luxury items. We don't even consider these as luxury items. We don't even consider these things as luxury items. They are so important to us. So important to us. Even the natural functions were so intelligently and comfortably designed as to call forth thanksgiving. Everything tucked so neatly out of sight. How blessed, how fortunate was mankind to be born into a life so wonderfully provided for. Again, my praises soared, and I was lifted on an inner golden light of rapturous mean pleasure and enthusiasm, wonder. For I now saw that In addition, for I now saw that in addition to freedom from stress, living creatures were also meant to express the exuberant, loving nature of the creative power. Yes, freedom of stress, freedom of stress. Before all these modern technology, our ancestors, they use our body to heal ourselves. They use what's around us without, and we would call them primitive nowadays, you know, we would call them primitive, but we're seeing that we were created with everything we needed. Everything we needed, we were created with. Everything we need, we were created with. Mm. It was at this point of understanding, no, it was at this point of understanding of the nature of the creative power that I began to be full consciousness of the love directing the works of the universal, intelligent, creative power. As I pondered this love, I realized that the mother in creation nourishes, protects, fulfills the needs, and tries to promote healing of offspring. This is the activity of love. Mm. The mother in creation. And we're just touching on the mother aspect, the feminine aspect that was in creation. There has to be a feminine aspect in creation. It's not man and woman. It's a masculine and feminine energy. And we're seeing mostly masculine energy now, but it's masculine and feminine energy that was there in creation. Verse 6, the innate characteristic of the loving, intelligent, creative power, which has given creation its individual form and being, is work. It works for us, in us, and through us. Its work is always, always prompted by love. Let me read that again. Number 6. These are laws of the universe that I'm reading, these are the laws of the universe that every creation was created with. They are eternal. All of God's creation come with these. We take some of these for granted. This is number 6. This says the innate characteristics of the loving, intelligent, creative power, which has given creation its individual form and being, is work. It works for us, in us, and through us. Its work is always, always prompted by love. Love. We have to, I hope as we read this, we go into details of love. I think we just take that word love just by speaking it. This love, agape love, this love for our creator, it's deep. It's love mixed up with appreciation. It's love mixed up with just knowing, God, that everything, that we're beautifully and wonderfully made as we see these laws. We came into the world to grow. We came into the world with food and nutrition. We came with protection. We came with love. All God's creation did, no matter who we are now, no matter what we look like. It doesn't mention anything about race or color or sexual orientation, nothing. Love. These are innate characteristics that all creation, that comes with all creation. And it says, the cosmic revelation filled me with joy and astonishment. What a wonderful world we lived in. It was culminating, it was the culminating point in my enlightening and my overall view of the truth concerning the source of all being. So, in Christ's enlightenment, this is what he observes. Christ's enlightenment. And I'm not sure if everyone understand that when Christ was on earth, after his baptism, according to these letters, he was taken to the desert, and in the Bible it tells it 40 days and 40 nights, and this is where he received this enlightenment. This is where he received his enlightenment. He could see things he didn't even know. He felt something like most of us, and know there was more to life, but he received this divine. This is all Christ's observation. Everything was shown to him when he went into that desert, you know. So this is what he saw. I had already seen the reality of the physical bodies composed of various communities of identical, infinitely tiny entities, working in a spirit of cooperation and harmony to produce the various components of the body: flesh, bone, blood, to eyes and hair. The only difference between these communities lay in the type of work demanded by their common goals. Surely, the divine impulse behind all this intelligent, purposefully activity in the body was both the inspiration and the foundation of man's own conduct when people worked in union to produce a planned objective. Mm, I love this. Let me highlight what he saw. He also saw the different entities, the reality of the physical body composed of various communities, tiny entities working together to create all these things: flesh, bones, blood, oh, the intricate work that goes on inside of us. The only difference between these communities lay in the type of work demanded by their community goals. Surely, in the divine impulse behind all this intelligent, purposeful activity in the body was both the inspiration and foundation of man's own conduct when people worked in unison to produce a planned objective. So he says there's a divine impulse going on. So when we were created, we will still, it's continued, as he says, growth. There's continual work going on inside of us. Work going on inside of us. The work didn't stop when we came to this earth. It didn't stop. So surely the divine impulse is behind this. They drew intelligence and purpose from the creative power. Yet how very different was man's behavior when engaged in earthly construction or any other communal project, for it was inevitably characterized by arguments and decisions. So this is saying how different is uh, how different we behave from what's going on inside of us, because he says everything that's taken in place inside of us is working inside of us to create different organs, blood, bones, everything that's working on the entities within us. So it says, we went over the previous reading. It says the cells are their own entities. The cells are their own entities. So how different is men's behavior from what's going on if we understand what's going on inside of us? And they're working by the divine impulses, you know? And but we as men behavior, when we are engaged in a unison togetherness, the ego comes in. We don't work like the work that's going inside of us under the direction of the divine power. We work outwardly by our ego. We want to be lifted up. We want to get all the acclamation. So we're not working in unison. This is what we used to, this is what our children see. Unless you understand the work that goes on within, to know that we should be listening to that divine impulse. And Christ call it that probably talked about little about it, says, I'm going to send the comforter who's going to teach you in all things. That's it, that thing that's going on within us. Let's listen to it. And if we listen to it, we'll learn to love, we learn to love. We'll learn to work together. We have to understand that there's no price. As the psalmist says, the race is not for the swift, nor the battle for the strong. It's for those who can endure. It's for those who can endure to the end. We must work together. This earthly get ahead of everybody is not taking us anywhere. Anywhere. If you go to work, just do it together. Do it. It's so many different ego, so many different things going on, even in our church, not even work. And we are, as the Bible said, we are the body of Christ, and everything on your body is important. Everything is important. So, and I'm just gonna read it again. I'm going to read this paragraph again. The only difference between these communities lay in the type of work demanded by their community goals. Surely the divine impulse was both the inspiration and foundation of man's own conduct. When people work in unison to produce a planned objective, they drew intelligence and purpose from the creative power. Yet how very different was man's behavior when engaged in earthly construction of any other communal project, for it was inevitably characterized by arguments and decision and dissensions. I was brought to a realization of the infinite power of the intelligent creativity, ever active within creation, maintaining order, cooperation, harmony, daily productivity, unequaled by man anywhere at any time. Oh, yeah, I like this. The infinite power of the intelligent creative. Infinite power of the intelligent creativity, ever active within creation, maintaining order, cooperation, harmony, daily productivity, unequaled by man anywhere at any time. Oh my gosh, this really opened my eyes, because it shows that there's divine work constantly going on in us. constantly going on in us. Oh, wow. Infinite power, intelligent creativity, but we're so busy we can't understand this. So another law of the universe is survival. Survival. Work was number 6. Now we're on survival. Survival was a natural characteristic of the creative power. In every case, the most wonderful provision had been made for all living things to grow, be healed of illness and injury, nourished in order to keep the body healthy, and to produce its own kind in order to ensure survival on the earth. This was the only reality mankind could be absolutely sure of, and its activity was consistent, here in and here out. The sun, moon, stars all remained in their places for millennia, and I was recognized that they all possessed their own paths of movement. This phenomena was all part of the grand scheme for survival in creation. If this was so, how could there not be survival of the eternal flame of loving, intelligent, creative power hidden within the created entities of every kind in the universe? Therefore, this world was but a shadow and image of the hidden worlds of loving, intelligent, creative power beyond this dimension. The reality of the entirety of creation lay beyond the visible world. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. He says survival, survival. This is another law for God's creation. We're created to survive. That's why we have children. He says, even the sun, moon, stars all remained in their places for millennia, and I view and recognize that they all possess their own paths of movement. This phenomena was all part of the grand scheme for survival in creation. Every creation wanna be survived. If this was so, how could there not be survival of the eternal flame of loving intelligence, creative power hidden within the created entities of every kind in the universe? So here's the question. If you believe that the survival is a law, what he's saying, survival is a law of the universe. So he's saying that hidden within us is the loving, intelligent, creative power hidden within the created entities of every kind in the universe. Creative entities hidden within every kind in the universe. Let's see what that means. That's why some says God is in every creation. God is in every creation, experiencing what we're experiencing. God is within us, hidden within us. We are an aspect of God. Therefore, the world is but a shadow. And if God is in us, this world is just a shadow. And image. Oh, we have to wake up. We have to wake up. Therefore, this world was but a shadow and image of the hidden worlds of loving, intelligent, creative power beyond this dimension. This is just a shadow. This world is just a shadow. And we scared to die. We're scared to, we think this world is it. Oh, the reality of the entirety of creation lay beyond the visible world. This is what you see some people's getting this revelation. The reality of the entirety of creation lay beyond this visible world. We think we know, we don't. This visible world is just a shadow, he called it, just an image. And sometimes I got before my spirit image, imagination. This world is just an imagination, something in your imagination. We take this earth too literally. We take this earth too literally. It's not all end all be all. It's just a shadow and image. Just imagine what Christ saw in the desert. I can't even imagine, but just reading this is powerful. Everything lay beyond this visible world, what we see in this visible world. The real world is beyond this visible world, what we can see with our physical eyes. Number 8, the inherent characteristics of loving, intelligent, creative power was rhythm. I saw that there was a rhythm in operation in the world. Rhythm is a universal law. Everything has rhythm. Does that mean vibration? Oh, rhythm. Everything was subjected to seasons, which gave a blossoming and a burgeoning of life. Let me get myself down to a little guy. Everything was subject to seasons, which gave blossoming and burgeoning of life. A growing season coming up to the ripening and harvest, and the production of seeds, which ensured and survival of plants and life. There was the gradual dying away and rest period of winter. But nothing created and living was allowed to become extinct. But nothing created and living was allowed to become extinct. But they said dinosaurs are extinct. That's what they said. But nothing created and living was allowed to become extinct. The sun and moon express these characteristics within the universe. This rhythm could even be seen in the females of living things. Therefore, everything in creation at its due time for appearance and harvest. It followed that man himself was subject to tides of growth and success and tides of dormancy. See, the Bible come alive. For everything, there must be a season. For everything, there is a season. For everything, there must be a season. A time to plant, and another scripture says a time to plant, a time to grow, Everything. That's the rhythm of life. That's the rhythm of life. It's a divine law. It's eternal. Can't get over it. So if you're going to look to have bliss all the time, something's wrong. You're not. The creative power mind, the divine law is not in you. This is what rhythm is. Oh, this is beautiful. Therefore, everything in creation had its due time for appearance and harvest. It followed that man himself was subjected to tides of growth and success and tides of dormancy. So when you're in that dormancy, just relax. Everything, there is a season. For everything, there is a season. Number 9. The inherent characteristic of loving, intelligent, creative power was law and order. Law and order. Order. We talk about law and order in this world. We talk about police. But law and order is a creative part of the creative power, the innate characteristics of every creation. Law and order. Let us see what law and order is. Well, deviating order and reliability apparent in creation, even governing the tiny entities, cells within the body, were astonished and far transcend any human endeavor. Therefore, the entire universe was operating under a system of perfect law and order. I realized on ever higher and higher levels of spiritual exaltation that the creative power exhibited intelligent purposefulness and loving concern all living things. I realized that life was not something nebulous or amorphous, but an intelligent, loving, creative power, which I could actually feel within myself as a tremendously heightened state of being, perception, radiance, ecstasy, joy, and love. I knew myself to be one with it, filled with it, and I was one with everything around me and one with the sky and stars. And most wonderful and glorious of all, the very nature and function of this Father, creative power was to work in order to create joy, beauty, and comfort, to ensure mankind's well being, to work within mankind to provide interior joy, wealth, and comfort, and to work through mankind, inspiring him with new realization and understanding. Wonderful vistas of glorious creativity came to mind once we became truly at one, purified channels and instruments of the intelligent creative power. We could gradually ascend in consciousness until we truly express through our minds and arts the very nature of the universal creative power. Then life on earth would indeed become a state of heaven at all times, that we would enter into a state of eternal life. Oh my gosh, this is a mouthful. We're waiting to go to heaven to enjoy these things. We're waiting to go to heaven to be at peace. We're working to go to heaven. We're not even waking. We're not even enjoying life here. We're working to go to heaven. But I have to read this paragraph again. I'm going to go back and read 9. law and order. Everything is done under law and order, not the physical one that we see men has. And you see how the world mimics universal law. The world mimics the universal law. And you try not to come against universal law. It says earlier it's unwavering. It's unwavering. So we're gonna look at this universal. Read this again. The universal law and order was law and order. The undeviating order and reliability apparent in creation. Okay. The undeviating order and reliability apparent in creation, even governing the tiny entity cells within the body, was astonishing and far transcend any human endeavor. It even governs even the tiniest cell in the body. Therefore, the entire universe was operating under a system of perfect law and order. I realized on ever higher and higher levels of spiritual exaltation that the creative power exhibited intelligent purposefulness and loving concern for all living things. Loving concern for all living things, not just some. I realized that life was not something nebulous or amorphous. Let me look for these words. Nebulous, what this word nebulous means. Nebulous. Nebulous, what nebulous? Unclear, nebulous, or vague. Unclear, vague, or ill-defined. Nebulous. Vague. What's a nebula representing? We found worldly after all. A net cloud or dust. Mist cloud. So cloud are vague. It's not bright. And amorphous. What's amorphous? Amorphous. Amorphous. Without a clearly defined shape or form. Oh. Lacking a clear structure or focus, or without a clearly defined shape or form. Without a clearly defined shape or form. So he's saying here, I realized that life was not something nebulous or amorphous. That means life wasn't unclear, life wasn't vague. but an intelligent, loving, creative power, which I could actually feel within myself as a tremendously heightened state of being, perception, radiance, ecstasy, joy, and love. Hmm? So we talk about life. It's not just something nebulous, unclear, but it's an intelligent, loving, creative power which I could actually feel within myself as a tremendously heightened state of perception, radiance, ecstasy, joy, and love. That's what life means. That's what life means. That's what he felt life means. I knew myself to be one with it, filled with it, and I was one with everything around me, one with the sky and stars. Huh? Oh, we think we're so different. Huh? We think we're just so different. And most wonderful and glorious of all, the very nature and function of the Father creative power was to work in order to create joy and beauty and comfort, to ensure mankind well-being, to work within mankind to provide interior joy, health, and comfort, and to work through mankind, inspiring him with new realization and understanding. Hmm? Why the Bible keeps saying we don't know him? We do not know him. Let's just see the nature of the Father's creative power. Hmm? We don't know him. Was the nature and function of this Father's creative power was to work in order to create joy, beauty, and comfort, to ensure mankind's well-being, to work within mankind to provide interior joy, health, and comfort, and to work through mankind, inspiring him with new realization and understanding. It's not outside, it's not coming from the world. Go within. Oh, that's the nature of our nature and function of this Father, creative power. Wonderful vistas of glorious creativity came to mind. Once we became truly at one, purified channels and instruments of the intelligent creative power, we could gradually, let's show we're gonna ascend. Hmm? Let's start here. Let's start here. Once we became truly at one, purified channels and instruments of the intelligent creative power, we could gradually ascend in consciousness until we truly express through our minds and arts the very nature of the universal creative power. Hmm? Yeah. Once we became truly at one, purified channels and instruments of the intelligent creative power that if available to be used, available to be healed, available to come inside of us and understand and heal us and create joy and comfort, work for us. Once we became truly at one, purified channels We have to, oh my God, everything we need is within us. That creative power that's the law of the universe. He wants us to grow. So once we became truly at one, purified channels for the creative power, not all filled up with ego, not all filled up looking for the world, looking for governments and everyone to come in and do the work with us. So once we became truly at one, purified channels and instruments of this intelligent creative power, we could gradually ascend in consciousness until we truly express through our minds and hearts the very nature of the universal creative power. That's a form of growth, ascending, ascend. This is what the rapture is all about. Is the rapture going to be physical or spiritual? Then life on earth would indeed become a state of heaven, a state of heaven at all times that we could enter into a state of eternal life. Now we understand what is our life on earth can become a state of heaven. We could be in heaven on earth. We have to, what he called it, be purified channels for the intelligent creative power. Allow that spirit, allow that force, intelligent creative power to come in and lead us and guide us so we can ascend. Heal us. Heal us. Wow. This must surely be the true goal behind creation, I thought. Exactly. And it came to me with a surge of elation and loving joy that this was the purpose for which man had been evolved and developed. But even at this present time, although mankind was so very imperfect in its behavior, absolutely nothing was impossible to him in the future. Since despite his wrongdoing, he was one with the creative power, and the creative power was within him, giving him life, limb, and everything else he needed. How can we have gotten it so wrong? Everything you need is within you. How could we have gotten it so wrong? Oh, we're sinners saved by grace. And oh, really? Oh, wow. This is so all-loving. Let me see what Christ says again. And it came to me with a surge of elation and loving joy that this was the purpose. And it came to me that with surge of elation and love and joy, that this was the purpose for which man has been evolved and developed. Evolved and developed. But even at this present time, although mankind was so very imperfect in its behavior, absolutely nothing was impossible to him in the future, since despite his wrongdoing, he was one with the creative power, and the creative power was within him, giving him life, limb, and everything he needed. Huh? The creative power is within him. Oh, but some of us think we're not worthy. We can't even mention that. All of this realization lifted me to the heights of rapture. All this realization lifted me to the heights of rapture, elation, and sublime ecstasy, so that I was scarcely able to bear it. I felt my body must dissolve with the expansion of power within me. I was eradicated with light and could see it all around me, illuminating the desert scene. Oh my gosh. My heart sang in praises. How wonderful and beautiful was the loving creative power which worked in, through, and for us unceasingly. What a miracle was creation. I cried out loud. Mm? Just imagine that. Christ just telling us what he experienced when he was in the desert. What he experienced when he was in the desert. Mm? Mm. He said, all of this realization, when it comes to the realization, because he was in Palestine, as he called it, and you see how man was crucified, man was forced in spite of their shortcomings, and tell how forced to obey, be obedient to religion, to religion. So when he realized this, he was, because he was always against the way religion was carried out back then when he was on earth, you know, that this doom and gloom and oh, Jehovah's gonna do this and Jehovah's gonna do that. When he saw the loving power behind the creative mind, the creative power, the loving creative power, he was in ecstasy and joy, because he can say, oh my God, my people who are so imperfect have a chance. That's what I'm getting here. And he said, all of this realization lifts me up to the heights of rapture. We talk about rapture, we think rapture is just going higher in consciousness. Elation and sublime ecstasy, so that I was scarcely able to bear it. I felt my body must dissolve with the expansion of power within me. It was irradiated with light, and he could see it all around me, illuminating the desert. Oh my God, the desert scene. My heart sang in praises. How wonderful and beautiful was the loving creative power which worked in, through, and for us unceasingly. What a miracle was creation, I cried out loud. You are the source of all being, both creator and also manifested within and through the created. There is nothing in the entire universe which is apart or separate from the limitless eternal infinity. What a miracle was creation, I cried out loud. I'm going to continue this. You are the source of all being, both creator and also manifested within and through the created. There is nothing in the entire universe which is apart or separate from the limitless, eternal infinity. Eternal infinity, extending only love to each other. However, at the moment of creation, two basic impulses came into being, ensuring individuality, and it was these which controlled mankind consciousness. So we're going to see. However, At the moment of creation, two basic impulses came into being, ensuring individuality, and it was these which controlled mankind consciousness. These impulses were explained, these impulses were explained to me in detail, but this knowledge is reserved for a future letter, which you will be better able to understand it. I was shown the following vivid vision. Okay, let's see the vision. First of all, I saw a newborn babe as light, a life form of creative power. I like this. As the baby grew into childhood, then manhood, I saw the pure light of creative power gradually dimmed and then obscured altogether in him by a dense wrapping of chains and thongs. I questioned the meaning of the vision, and there came to my mind a clear understanding which may be expressed in the following words. I think everyone's listening to this probably. I can understand why. Oh, that's why it says we have to be like a little child, you know. We have to be like a little child. First of all, we saw a newborn babe as a light, a life form of created form. Yes, coming in my spirit, born in, they say we're born in sin and shaped in iniquity, but this doesn't say anything about a sin. Newborn babe as light, a life form of creative power. When you see those babies, from birth to death, people believe and insist that their five senses of sight, hearing, touch, and smell and taste correctly predicate the reality of themselves and the universe around them. Therefore, because they draw their mind power direct from divine creative power, it is done to them according to their beliefs. Mm. Do we really understand what this says right here? Do we really understand what this says right here? That everything happened to us. It is done to us according to our belief, even if it's not true. This is how important it is to renew our mind. Hmm? Some of us, because they can't explain, as it says, with our five senses, it's not true. And if you live in the five senses, we're always gonna be in wants, we're gonna have sickness. If you only can believe what you can see, hear, touch, smell, and taste, you need to be awakened. You need to be awakened. There's a vast universe beyond these five senses. So it says, therefore, because we're so powerful, we're drawing everything that comes to us, we're drawing it from our beliefs because we draw our power from the divine creative mind. And remember, it gives us free will. So when you start renewing your mind, when you start read, when you start do the work, when you start looking beyond these five senses, oh, the blessings. The blessings is limited. We start living the heaven on earth. Okay. Each thong represents a person's habitual thoughts. Wait, let me, if he mentions thong up here, I know what thong is, but it says, each thong represents a person's habitual thoughts, responses to people and events, prejudice, hates, animosities, anxieties, sorrows, all of which bind him down and shut out the light from his inner vision drawn from the creative power. Mm, let's see. Yeah. Each song represents a person's habitual thoughts, what we think, responses to people and events, response to people when people can trigger you, when events can trigger your energy, when everything you think is of God, prejudice, hates, animosities, anxieties, sorrows, all of which bind them down. We see it's telling us here what binds us down and shut out the light from his inner vision, drawn from the creative power, drawn from that universal mind. That's why that power within us can't work, because it's bowed down to what you see and your perception and your reaction. Thus he enters into darkness but does not know it. He believes he is growing up and becoming mature. This is him expressing what does it mean as the baby grow, you become more dense and dense and dense. And the denser it becomes, he's shutting out the light. So thus he enters into darkness, but does not know it. He believes he is growing up and become mature in the ways of the world, which will enable him to forge ahead and make good and become successful, the aim of most people on the earth. In fact, the more mature he becomes and versed in worldly ways, the more densely do his chains and songs imprison him within the grip of the twin impulses of bonding and rejection. Electromagnetism. Oh, wow. Mm-mm-mm-mm. We think we're growing up and we want to be successful. So this is just experience showing you what happened to us in this world. In fact, the more mature he becomes and versed in worldly ways, the more densely do his chains and thongs imprison him within the grip of the twin impulses of bonding and rejection. Hmm? Bonding and rejection. You attract. Things you attract is bonding. Things you repel is rejection. Furthermore, each chain is forged out of selfish and deceitful desires, greed, aggression, violence, and rape. These chains hang heavy around him and burden the psyche, which is the creative consciousness power deep within him. Hmm? Burden the psyche, which is the creative power within him. This is so powerful. The psyche burden the mind. Burden the mind. Hmm? Burden the mind. You can't create. Chain and song will bring him tighter with ever passing year until he realizes what he's doing to himself and sincerely repents each song and chain and makes due restitution to others whom he has harmed. With this vision, I learned a most valuable aspect of existence. Man himself is born with all the potential to make a beautiful life for himself. But he himself, by indulging in selfish desires and hatreds, creates a prison of misery for himself from which there was no escape until such times as he realizes the truth of existence. The truth of existence. Let me tell you, this is the waking up that needs to be woken up in people. This is it. This is it. With this vision, I learned how long I've been here? Oh, 86 minutes. Okay. With this vision, I learned a most valuable aspect of existence. Man himself is born with all the potential to make a beautiful life for himself, but he himself, by indulging in his selfish desires and hatreds, creates a prison of misery for himself from which there was no escape until such times as he realizes the truth of existence. All the problems of harsh existence lay within the thought process of man himself. I'm putting this in red. Mm. This is so powerful. Mm? We have to know the truth of existence. And I hope if anyone listened to this, somehow find the truth of existence. Mm. All the problems of harsh existence lay within the thought process of man himself. Can we believe that? I remember before I ever read this book, if you're listening to Deep Ministry, the thought, all the problems of harsh existence lay within the thought process of man himself, the thought. Renew your mind. Only people's consciousness forms. And where is the consciousness forms? In your thoughts, in your psyche, mentions early. Only people's consciousness forms, their thoughts, their words, their feelings, their actions create a dense bar between their consciousness and universal creative consciousness, interpenetrating the universe in every leaf, tree, insect, bird, and animal being. Oh, let me read like this. Only people's consciousness forms, their thoughts, their words, their feelings, their actions created a dense bar between their consciousness and their universal create consciousness, interpenetrating the universe in every leaf, tree, insect, bird, and animal being. Our thoughts, our consciousness forms, creates a dense bar. I think that word is barrier between the consciousness, between our conscious and the universal creative consciousness. the universal creative consciousness that interpenetrates the universe in every leaf, tree, insect, bird, animal, and human being. So we see all creation on a whole of this universal creative consciousness inside of them, not just us. I was also shown the laws of existence, controlling the human ability to create new circumstances and environment, relationships, achievement or failure, prosperity or poverty. Oh. I was also shown the laws of existence controlling the human ability to create this new circumstances and environment, relationships, achievement or failure, prosperity or poverty. Whatever man profoundly believes himself to be, good or bad, that will he become. Whatever man fears others will do to him, so will they do. Whatever man hopes that others will do to him, he must first do to them, since he is then creating a consciousness patterns which will return to bless him to the extent he has blessed others. Oh, I think I'm going to stop after reading this. Oh my gosh. Whatever disease man dreads, so will he become prey to it, for he will have created a consciousness pattern of the very thing he least wants to experience. Whatever is sent forth from man's mind and heart returns to him in due course, in some form or another. But remember that like always breeds like. Strongly emotional thoughts are consciousness seeds planted within a man's own orbit of consciousness. These will grow, bearing a like harvest for his reaping. These these are the fruits of free will. There is no way that man may escape what he thinks, says, or does, for he is born of the divine creative consciousness power and is likewise creative in his imagining. Oh my God. Mm, all right. Let's I have to go over this. I have to go over this. This helps us to see why we're in the position we're in. That it's not the enemy, it's not the devil, it's us. The power of our mind, the power of who we are, keep us in our circumstances. So I'm gonna highlight this, and this should be put on a t-shirt somewhere. Because we think sometimes it's obvious, we think sometimes it's us. It's all us. It's all us. We're hampering ourselves. We're hindering ourselves. And I see myself right in here. Right in here. Okay, let me sit up. Let me get ready to read this again. Only people's consciousness forms, their thoughts, words, feelings, actions created a dense barrier between their consciousness and the universal creative consciousness interpenetrating the universe in every leaf, tree, insect, bird, animal, and human being. I was also shown the laws of existence. We talk about these laws in the world. There's some divine laws that's controlling our everything. I was also shown the laws of existence controlling the human ability to create new circumstances and environment, relationships, achievements, or failure, prosperity, or poverty. I have to read this again. I was also shown the laws of existence controlling the human ability to create new circumstances and environment, relationships, achievement or failure, prosperity or poverty. Whatever man profoundly believes himself to be, good or bad, that will he become. Whatever man fears others will do to him, so will they do. Whatever man hopes that others will do to him, he must first do to them, since he is then creating a consciousness pattern which will return to bless him to the extent he has blessed others. Let's read that one again. Whatever man hopes that others will do to him, he must first do to them, since he is then creating a consciousness pattern which will return to bless him to the extent he has blessed others. Whatever disease man dreads, so will he become prey to it, for he will have created a consciousness pattern of the very thing he least wants to experience. I'm going to read that one again. Whatever disease man dreads, so will he become prey to it, for he will have created a consciousness pattern of the very thing he least wants to experience. Whatever is sent forth from man's mind and heart returns to him in due course in some form or another. But remember that, like always, say that again, whatever is sent forth from man's mind and heart returns to him in due course in some form or another. But remember that like always breeds like. Strongly emotional thoughts are consciousness seeds. Strongly emotional thoughts are consciousness seeds planted within a man's own orbit of consciousness. These will grow, bearing a like harvest for his reaping. So remember, what you put in your mind and heart will return to you in due course. You don't even have to speak it. Strongly emotional thoughts are consciousness seeds. Be careful, planted within a man's own orbit of consciousness. These will grow, bearing a like harvest for his reaping. You reap what you sow. This is the Bible coming to alive. You reap what you sow. These are the fruits of free will. When you say, yeah, oh, God give us free will, this is it. Whatever you sow, you will reap. There is no way that man may escape what he thinks, says, or does, for he is born of the divine creative consciousness power and is likewise creative in his imagining. We're cut from that creative power. We call him God. He is born of the divine creative consciousness power. And it's likewise creative in is imagining. Renew our thoughts. Everything we're going through is us. Oh my gosh. More, it's more. Those who long for good for themselves must first give it to others. Let their very existence be a blessing to others. Oh my gosh, this is everything. This is free will. Those who long for good for themselves must first give it to others. Let their very existence, let me get down here, be a blessing to others. Be a blessing to others. When such people are in harmony with all others, they are then perfectly attuned to the universal creative conscious power. When such people are in harmony with all others, they are then perfectly attuned to the universal creative consciousness power. And they are brought into the flow of the Father nature, which is growth, protection, nourishment, physical, mental, spiritual, healing, fulfillment of need within a system of law and order. And I'm going to stop here today. I am going to stop here today. And this gives us everything we need to be successful, to be healed. To be healed. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, that this book, these letters, let me say these letters, you have to read them more than once. Because the Bible, it was read in the Bible, but this morning during meditation, it reminded me that the Bible told us they took the keys. They took the keys, so we didn't get the full understanding of what we're reading. We're taking it literally. We're taking it, we have to take it spiritually, that it's talking about us and how to survive in this world. You read these letters and the Bible literally comes alive. These are universal laws that we're reading in the Bible. And if you mention universal laws to anyone, he talked about free will. When it talks about free will, it's a universal law that trumps everything. That trumps everything.